I wouldn't call it a lecture, but one of our interactive sessions with the students of the Ministry of Education. Of course, this is part of the program to enrich your knowledge in life skills that are much broader than your usual curriculums. And in our area specifically, we are involved in financial markets and what we call capital markets. So basically, we represent the Securities and Commodities Authority. We belong to the Ministry of Economy, and we fall under its auspices. Our role mainly is to make sure that people who invest their money, invest their savings, are protected and their savings are kept safe if they invest through the stock markets and through the bond markets. We are involved mainly in long-term investments in companies, as well as debt instruments, or what we call borrowing from companies and governments that involve individuals, people like you and me. Today, we are going to be talking about the technologies specifically used in our financial markets. Can I just ask you quickly, what do you understand by the word financial market? What is financial and what is market? What do the words mean? Anyone from our clever students? Okay, no one wants to volunteer. Okay, so basically a market is where two people come together to buy or sell something. In our traditional markets, for example, if we go to the gold souk, we have buyers and sellers trying to come together to buy or sell gold. In financial markets, we replace this instrument, the gold, with something else, which is basically a financial instrument, what we call a financial instrument. A tool which allows people to put their money in stocks or bonds or any other investment or instrument that helps them to grow their money, to grow their capital, or someone who needs that capital would be able to access and receive that money so that they can put it in a project, for example, or grow their business. So this is what we mean basically in very simple terms by financial markets. Now, financial markets, like most markets, use technologies, and this is not new. Technologies have been used in financial markets ever since they were launched or established many, many years ago. But what's new is that there has been a lot of innovation recently, especially over the past, let's say, 10 to 15 years. And this was triggered by many factors which relate to having a lot of young people like yourselves enter the market. Also triggered by a lot of the crises and problems that have happened in the financial markets, which have shown us that technology and innovation is very important. And also because governments have been encouraging companies working in the financial markets and encouraging investors to start adopting technology to make their lives easier, to be able to access financial services and investments in a much easier and less costly manner. So let's look together at our presentation today. Can you all see the presentation clearly? Just checking, can everyone see the presentation? Yes? Yes. Perfect. Okay. Let's do a quick quiz. I know students usually don't like quizzes, especially if they are pop quizzes, but this is a very simple and funny quiz. Question number 1, I would like to also see your interaction and participation. Which of the below do you think was invented first? Which of the following was invented first? Was it the mobile phones, the electronic calculators, the ATMs, or maybe you were not born yet? Which one do you think? Can you guess? Can someone guess?
B.
B, the electronic calculator. Yes, who said B?
Yes, me.
Yes, correct answer, B. So the electronic calculator is considered one of the main technologies and the first technologies that was introduced in the financial world. And then it was followed by the ATM and then the mobile phones. This is actually Samsung. This is the guy from Samsung. Okay, question number 2. Imagine you went on a trip, on a holiday to Kenya, and you somehow got lost in the middle of the desert with no food, no friends with you to help you, no people around, and suddenly you find one of the natives, one of the people from the natives in the desert, and he comes to you and says, "How can I help you?" And he offers you one of 3 things. He offers you food and water, or a tent to sleep until help arrives next morning, or a mobile phone. Which one? And you can only choose one of them. It's like the genie in a way. Which one do you think you would choose? What is the best tool that you would need being lost in the desert in Kenya? Anyone?
C.
Why C? Strange. C, a mobile phone? Why?
Because maybe I can call help.
Okay, interesting. You think, okay, actually the answer is C, very good. Yeah, it's correct. But it's not just because you can call help. Do you think you can use mobile phone to provide something else for you? Some of your basic needs being in the desert? Well, we'll look at that. You don't have to answer now, but we will look at that in our presentation. Question number 3. Who is Alibaba? Do you know Alibaba? Is he from a character
D.
from the 1001 Nights? The large Chinese company, or both of them? Or none of them? Either. Someone said E, not A, not
D.
C. Both? Maybe none. D. It's actually both, yeah? The correct answer is both. So it is, Alibaba is a character from 1001 Nights, but interestingly, it is also the name of a large Chinese company. In fact, the largest internet platform with a variety of a huge diversity of financial and technology services. Have you heard of Alibaba before? Has anyone heard of Alibaba before? Obviously, someone has who answered B, they know Alibaba, the Chinese company. Has anyone else heard of Alibaba and what they offer?
Yes.
Yes.
Excellent. Good group here. Okay. Question number 4. What is Libra? Libra? People who are going to have their birthday later this month. The horoscope sign for people born between August 23rd and September 22nd. Or is it the currency of an Asian country? Or is it a new payments tool launched by Facebook? For those who use Facebook, they must know. Who has the answer? Libra. Do we have anyone here whose star sign is Libra? Anyone born between?
A.
Yeah, we have some. Birthday. I'm very happy. How many of you use Facebook? Do we have an answer yet?
A.
A? Yeah. The actual answer is C. C. So Libra is a currency, an electronic currency, or what we call now a cryptocurrency, launched by Facebook. So we all know that Facebook is a social media tool, right? So it's in the media, it's in the communications services. But Facebook is now entering also into the financial world by launching its own payment tool, a cryptocurrency, an electronic currency called Libra. And they are now in the process of receiving the government approvals and go ahead to actually launch their very first electronic payment tool, which a lot of people are expecting to be a groundbreaking phenomena in the financial world and in the payments tools worldwide. This gentleman here, he is the former chairman, the former head of the central bank in the US. And he said one very important quote a few years ago. He said that the only useful thing that banks have invented in 20 years was the ATM machine. And the ATM machine was probably one of the very first innovations in the financial industry. To them, the ATM was a huge innovation. But now there are so many other innovations that make the ATM look like a very silly idea to start with. Okay, what do you think we mean by financial technology? It's a term now that we refer to talk about technologies used in the financial world. Anything, any technology or any innovation that is being used to provide financial or investment services to people or to companies. And the acronym for that is FinTech, or the abbreviation is FinTech, financial technology. What is financial? What do you think is financial? What do we mean by the word financial? Any volunteers? What do we mean by the word financial? What is financial? What are financial services? What are financial products? Do you deal with any financial services or products in your day-to-day life as students or as individuals? Any volunteers? There's no right or wrong answer. I just want to know from you. So the money, the cash that you use to go shopping, for example, that's financial, right? That's money you use to purchase things, right, for consumption. What else? Does anyone here have a project idea, or their parents are involved in any business in any way? So when you try and obtain money, or what we call capital, to start a new project, that is called funding or financing your business. It comes from the word finance, financing your business, obtaining money for your business. So that's financial. These are two examples only of what we mean by finance or financials. Okay, but what is technology? What do we mean when we say technology in the context of the financial markets? So basically, technology is any tool that uses computers, that uses electronics, that uses the internet to provide finance or financial services to anyone who needs it. Okay? And applying that technology in financial services can be in in a multitude of ways, in a multitude of forms. And it's very broad. The definition is extremely broad. So it could be software, it could be applications, processes, business models, etc. Different types of companies can be involved. It also involves the presence of digital technologies, the presence of what we call regulatory entities, which are governments or institutions that tell people what they can do and what they cannot do. So they regulate or organize these markets and these dealings between the different participants in these markets. This, of course, is a revolution. It created a huge market change, a huge leap in the way things were being done in the financial world. Can any of you tell me how you have used or how you have come across FinTech or financial technology in your lives? Have you come across any financial technology in your lives? And I can guarantee you that the answer is yes. In one way or another, you have come across financial technology in your lives. Can someone think? Maybe using your mobile phones, using your iPads, over the internet. Have you come through any financial technologies? Whether you used it or at least you have heard of it or are familiar with it. Come on, don't be shy. Anyone? Any volunteers? Hello? Can someone think of a way that they have used FinTech or financial technology? Okay, let me give you an example. So when we go to the supermarket, say you forgot your cash at home. When you use your credit card to pay for your purchases at the supermarket, that is financial technology. Because that is the credit card itself, the whole system and infrastructure that is behind the use of the credit card is in itself called technology, and it's used to provide finances. It's financial technology. Okay, you know how when we download a payment tool, for example, people who have iPhones, they have Apple Pay on their phones. People who have Samsungs, they have Samsung Pay. This is linked to your credit card, and you can use your phone by just tapping your phone on the machine in the supermarket or in any outlet. The payment gets transferred to the shop or to the retailer. That is a way of using financial technology. That is financial technology. So we call it e-pay, electronic payment tools. Can I have just some interaction just to make sure you're all okay and you're all with me? Is everyone with me here? You're very quiet.
Yes.
Yes? Okay, yes. Perfect. So it's going well so far? Everything is easy to follow? Any questions so far? No questions yet?
No.
Okay, I'll be asking you questions then. Okay, so how did the financial innovation start? How did the technology get into the financial world? Well, it started long time ago, ever since the 1860s, when the first electronic communication tools were developed, which we called at the time the telegraph cables. So the first telegraph cable was laid out between the USA and the UK to facilitate the communication between the major markets and the major banks between the two countries. So they started developing electronic cables to make communication easier. So communication, being able to communicate electronically, was one of the first technologies that was used in the financial world to make the banking transactions much easier to complete. Later on, this was called, by the way, the telegraphic cables, when they were laid out, it was called the Victorian internet. So that was the internet at their time. That was their way of communicating easily and at a much cheaper cost than their usual communications, which was paper-based in the good old days. The second wave of financial innovation was the digitization of finance. And this involved, first of all, ATMs, the launch of the first ATMs by Barclays Bank in the UK. And then there was the launch of the first stock exchange that was fully electronic, and that is called NASDAQ. NASDAQ in the USA is the first fully electronic stock exchange where people were able to use their computers to buy and sell stocks or shares of listed companies, like Microsoft, Apple was not existent yet at the time, I think. IBM, etc., and many other companies. And then in 1972, there was the launch of the electronic calculator. And in 1973, there was a new communications tool called SWIFT. SWIFT is basically a way of banks telling each other that they have sent money to one another or sent money to their clients. And it was one of the main electronic payment and communications tools that is used until today. The third wave of innovation in the financial world was what we call the rise of the dot-coms. So in the early 1990s, many companies which did not exist in a physical form and only were able to provide their product and their services electronically have started to flourish and have started to establish. Three of the main leaders in this area were Amazon, Amazon.com, one of the biggest online retailers now, which we're all familiar with. Google, Google.com, was established in the 1990s. PayPal, a very famous payment tool, was also established in the 1990s. So in the 1990s, it was, we can say, a time where most purely online companies have started to set up. And this is why we called it the rise of the dot-coms. Companies which did not exist before and only had a .com on the internet, and they started offering their services to the public and to other companies. But unfortunately, most of the companies that have established during the dot-com bubble have collapsed because most of them were not, did not have a proper or a serious business model which they can have in the long term. But these companies we have here are actually three of the few companies which managed to survive through the dot-com bubble. And then there was phase 4, wave 4 of financial innovation or FinTech evolution. And it happened that in 2008, that at the same time when the first smartphone was launched, the iPhone, we had on the other end the financial crisis. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with what happened in the financial crisis, but around late 2007 or mid 2007, a lot of the financial companies and financial institutions like big banks around the world have realized that they have done many things that were wrong. They have gotten into transactions that they should not have gotten into. They invested huge amounts in businesses and assets which have collapsed in values. And most of this have led to a collapse in the financial world, financial institutions, huge ones, as well as major economies around the world, starting with the US, Europe, and then also here in the Middle East region. So funny enough, at the time when one huge industry, the financial industry, was collapsing completely, we had the rise of the smartphones. The smartphones was a major breakthrough because based on the smartphone technology, many new financial services were being developed and were emerging, allowing a lot of people who could not access financial services and investments in the past were now able to access it through their smartphones and mobile phones. We saw a new generation of people like you, young people, young, active, energetic, people who don't have time to waste waiting in long queues in banks to be able to get their money or to get their cash or to obtain finance for their business. We call it the Generation M banking. These people refuse to just settle with the current what we call status quo or the current traditional system of banking. And they said, no, we want faster services, more convenient services, cheaper services, services that are customized and tailor-made for our needs. If, for example, I want to travel today, I want to be able to log on my phone, buy travel insurance, obtain some funding for my trip, and then pay it back when I come back. I want to be able to have all my money on my phone I don't want to carry cash or have to go to the bank to withdraw cash. I want to have currencies, different currencies on my phone, so I can purchase what I want when I travel to a foreign country. According to one study, 38% of, a little more than the third of most youth of the youth generation now spend at least 5 hours on their phones. How do you expect them to go and fill up forms and sign documents? Some people from your generation, I'm a little older, some people from your generation do not even know what a check looks like, or how to cash a check, or how to sign a check. And honestly, you don't need to. I know they tell you have to, maybe your parents tell you have to learn how to sign a check and how to read a check, yes. But really, maybe in a few years, there will not be any checks. All you will need is your smartphone, and maybe not even your smartphone. Maybe you need your smartwatch only. And this is the trend. This is why most banks and most financial institutions need to start offering services that are tailor-made for your uses and your lifestyle, and not stick with the traditional methods that they used before, which our grandparents used to use. You know that according to one study, one survey that was conducted, 71% of millennials are people born from the late 80s to the early 2000, I'm sorry. So maybe between 81 until late 90 something. So these people prefer to actually go to the dentist and have a tooth removed, then go and wait in a bank, or go and obtain services from a bank. Interesting statistics. But most banks still refuse to understand that concept. So they still try to innovate, but using old traditional methods. I mean, if you have a car, why do you need a horse anymore? You know. So a lot of the financial innovation that we see happening now is still in this mode of thinking. So they try and adopt old systems, but using new technologies, which is not right, because innovation means coming up with completely new ideas, groundbreaking ideas, things that did not exist before, offering services using completely new tools, completely new technologies. So there needs to be a shift in their mindset, in their way of thinking. Okay, so what are the key areas where we use FinTech? So I asked you a question. Where did you use FinTech before? Can someone remind me what was the answer? Some areas where we used FinTech, financial technology, where you use technology to provide financial services or to obtain financial services. Sorry? I didn't hear that. Someone said something. Markets? Okay, so when you go to the supermarket to buy something, when you use your credit card or when you use your mobile e-payment tools like Apple Pay or Samsung Pay, that is financial technology. So then one of the key areas where financial technology is being used is actually in payments, providing banking and payment services. And when we say banking, how many of you are familiar with this bank here? Not Emirates NBD, but Live Bank. How many of you have seen the ad? How many of you have considered Live Bank or have spoken to someone who knows about Live Bank? Anyone? So basically, Live Bank is a service that was launched. Sorry?
Can you repeat the question again?
Okay, so I'm saying, have any of you dealt with Live Bank or is familiar with Live Bank, L-I-V, Live Bank?
No.
Do you know what is Live Bank here in the UAE?
No.
Anyone? Have you seen the ads of Live Bank? They have advertisements all over the city. No?
No.
Okay. Okay, so basically, Live Bank is a service that was introduced by Emirates Bank, Emirates NBD Bank, and it is purely 100% electronic. So if you want, actually, but you just have to be 18 years old, so in a few years, maybe a year or two for some of you, Live Bank is 100% electronic. You don't need to go to the bank or to the branch to start your account or to have your money deposited in an account. Just with your national ID, you log on to, you download first of all the app on your phone, and then you scan your ID, you scan your national ID, and then within a few minutes, they open a bank account for you. And you don't need to go to the bank, you don't need to go and deposit money. All you need to do is maybe have a credit card or have someone send you money electronically to your bank account. 100% electronic, 100% online, using an application. So don't you think this is innovation? Don't you think this is groundbreaking innovation? For people who were traditionally familiar with banks in their a classic form where you have to go to the branch, you have to get a queue number, you have to wait in a long line just to be able to withdraw some money. Or you have to go to the ATM with your ATM machine and withdraw your money. Now you don't have to do any of that. Just sitting on your couch or in your bed at home at 12 p.m., 12 a.m. at night, just download the app, scan your national ID, and you have a bank account all set for you. On top of that, they offer you a lot of services, a lot of discounts when you purchase things online, when you purchase things in the shops, supermarkets, in the malls, in the retail shops. A lot of services, a lot of lifestyle services. What they're trying to do here is to meet the needs of your generation, because they know that your generation doesn't have the patience, doesn't have sort of the familiarity with the old systems, and you have other better ideas, better projects, better initiatives to worry about. So you don't need to worry about visiting a bank to get your financial needs and services met. This is what we call digital banking. And Live Bank is an example of what we call neobanks. Neobanks are banks that are 100% electronic and have nothing to do with the building, what we call the brick and mortar model of a traditional bank. They offer all kinds of services, including current account or checking account, where you can withdraw and deposit money anytime. They offer savings accounts, investment accounts. You can use the account to pay your bills, to transfer funds to your family and friends, etc. So this is one of the key areas where electronics and digital transformation has helped transform the financial services that we used to have in the past. Okay, here is one quiz for you. Can you tell me what is the common feature between the three pictures? What is the common or the similarity between the three pictures that you can see? Or at least tell me what you can see.
There is an Apple, Facebook logo, and there is a picture of Alibaba. Store.
Okay. So what is the common theme between the three? Apple, Facebook, and Alibaba. Shall I make it easier for you? How about this?
Apple Pay, Alibaba, Dotcom, and Facebook.
What do they do? What do the three offer?
Financial technology.
Exactly. So financial technology, payment services, right? So we know Apple Pay, we use it on our phones for those who have iPhone. Alibaba is the big Chinese company which started offering, selling items on the internet, and now they offer full-fledged financial services, including payment services and credit cards also. And Facebook, we said they launched a currency called, remember what is the currency called? Libra, exactly. So Facebook also got into the payment services. And by the way, Facebook, through its Messenger app, in some countries, including India and the Philippines, you can actually use the Messenger app of Facebook, to send money to your family and friends. Did you know that? So in India and the Philippines, they actually use Facebook Messenger to send money to one another. Just like you send phone credits on Etisalat and Do, so you can actually send money on Facebook Messenger. Okay, so here are some examples of electronic payments using FinTech or financial technology to offer payment services, and we discussed most of them already. This is M-Pesa. M-Pesa, remember the guy who was lost in Kenya in the desert? So I think someone said, I would take the phone. I will not take the food and water, and I will not take the tent to sleep inside. I will actually take the phone. And when I asked, they said, I'll take the phone because I can call for help. Correct, that was the correct answer. But there's also one more thing. Telephone companies in Kenya have started many years ago offering a service called M-Pesa. And M-Pesa is basically using your credits on your phone to purchase things. So say, for example, you want to go and buy a burger from McDonald's. So you use your phone credits on your M-Pesa service to buy your burger. You don't need to have cash, you don't need to have a credit card. Can you think in a country like Kenya, where people are poor, there's a very big population of poor people. Do you think how that could help them? So people in rural areas, people on a farm, people in very poor villages, do you think how that could be helpful for them? So basically what they do, say for example, this poor lady here, she wants to send money to her family. She is working in the city and she wants to send money to her family in the village. But to be able to go to the village, she needs to drive or to take a bus or a train, which on a trip of maybe 4 or 5 hours to get to the village. But her parents are not well, they are ill, and they need the money today to be able to pay to the doctor. So what she can do, she can just go to any grocery shop which is subscribed to the M-Pesa service, just as if she is buying phone credits, as if she is buying a card to charge her phone. So she gives the guy at the grocery shop some cash. He loads her phone, and she gives him her mobile number, and he charges, or he loads her mobile number, her line, with that amount of money. And then once she has that credit in her line, she can simply, using a simple messaging tool, M-Pesa, transfer that money to her family who are living 5 hours away. Within seconds, transfer that money to them so they can use it by using their phone and paying the doctor using that credit in their line. So M-Pesa was one of the very, very important ideas which came up with the help of technology. So basically using the telecom companies like Etisalat and Do. In Kenya, it was Vodafone company, using the telecommunications company to provide a service which is basically a payment service, because they realized that the telecommunication company, once you charge your line, they know how much money for sure you have in your line, how much credit at least you have with you. So they said, well, why not allow people to use that credit for many other things, not just for making calls, but also to transact, to buy things, to pay for things, to pay for services, to purchase things. Even the government had started paying some of their employees, some of the government employees, using the M-Pesa tool by simply transferring money on your line. So you get a message saying, oh, now you have money transferred to your line so you can use by the government. In some countries like India, for example, they have also started using a service similar to M-Pesa. A lot of the people who are on retirement, who do not have jobs anymore, who depend on the government to give them money so they can provide for their living, a lot of these people, at least 50% of them, used to lose their money because the money was either stolen or it never got to them at the right time, or it was never sent to them. It was sent to wrong people in the past. But now 50%, can you believe it? Half of the population of India used to lose, of the retired population and the people who depend on what we call welfare, on the government to support them, used to lose this money because it never got to them. But now with this technology, simply the government at the beginning of the month or at the end of the previous month, they just send them electronically that money on their smartphones or even on the regular Nokia phones, the old phones, through their telephone line, their mobile phone, and they simply can use that money immediately. So we see how convenient it became. We see that one of the main advantages is that the poor people who in the past were not able to actually access finance or access a lot of the money providing tools that is available in developed countries now can simply use it by a very simple technology which was existing before, but because of innovation, because of new thinking, we were able to provide new services and new financial facilities using these technologies which existed in the past. Luckily, here in the UAE, we are also making strides in financial innovation. And speaking of using the telephone and using telephone lines or mobile lines to provide financing, Etisalat and Noor Bank have cooperated, and they provide now a service called Ewallet. Ewallet, so basically, is an account you have on your phone line which can store for you credits and money which you can use anytime, anywhere. Easy, fast, secure. Of course, no one can access this money. So for example, if I have cash in my wallet, if I drop my wallet while walking or if I forget it at home or if I lose it, people can simply steal that money in it, right? But this one on your phone with your password and even with your fingerprint, no one can use your phone and access that money that is in your account. So it's secure and safe. And of course, it uses existing technology, nothing new, right? Mobile phone, internet, no great technology or no new technology is involved. But the innovation is the idea of using an existing technology to provide new services in the financial field. So this was the first area where technology is used for payments and banking. The second main area is raising capital. The word sounds a little complex, a little complicated for you, but let me tell you a story which I think you will enjoy. How many of you has been to the US and has seen the Statue of Liberty? Anyone has traveled to the US and seen the Statue of Liberty? No one? Okay, but at least you know what is the Statue of Liberty, right?
Yes.
So you've seen it on TV, in the news. Okay, so the Statue of Liberty was made in France, and it was actually a gift from France to the US. It was like what we call a diplomatic gift from France to the US. So it was made by a French sculptor who gifted it to the US. But there was a problem. When the US received the Statue of Liberty, they did not have a stand to put the Statue of Liberty on top of it. And to be able to build that stand or to provide it, they needed at least $250,000, which is the equivalent of about $6 million today, to build that stand, only the stand on which they can place the Statue of Liberty. Okay, but the government didn't have the money at the time. So what do? So they needed to go out and ask the people, the Americans, to contribute some money. And they told them, please contribute at least $1 if you can. So in one of the major US newspapers, they put an advertisement saying, please help us collect money to provide the stand for the Statue of Liberty. And this is what people did. People started sending $1 notes, $5 notes, $10 notes until they completed the amount. So this was the first example a lot of people know of, which is basically collecting money from the public, from the people, for a specific project, for a specific idea. And this is what we call raising capital. Capital is basically money that we need to use for a project, to start a project, or to build something, or to create something. So capital is the initial money that we need, the starting money that we need. Okay. In our modern life, in our current modern environment, we call this crowdfunding. Crowd because we collect funds. Funds is basically money or finances. So we collect funds from the crowd, from the people. Okay. And what do we use this money for? So now with the presence of the internet and some new websites that have developed, they allow anyone who needs money for a project or for an idea to go online to these websites, explain their idea, put some videos, put some pictures, put some documents to explain their idea, and ask people who are interested in their idea and who would like to provide money for their idea to contribute to this idea or to this project. And this is why we call it crowdfunding. So any of you, for example, say one of us wants to start a chocolate business, but you need some money to rent a shop, to buy the chocolate from Belgium, to buy the decorations for the chocolate boxes, to maybe hire a staff member to be in the shop and to sell your chocolates for you, but you don't have the money. So you go to your father and mother, they give you some money, but it's not enough. So what you can do now is you can go on one of these websites online. For example, there is a website called Kickstarter. There is a website called GoFundMe. These websites allow you to post all the details about your project online, and then people that visit this website, if they get excited about your project or idea, they can start using their credit cards to send you money to provide financing or funding for your project. So this example of the chocolate shop is an example of a real business, but sometimes you don't need money for a real business. Maybe you need money to help a cause, a charity cause. For example, we all know about what happened in Lebanon, the huge explosion, right? I'm sure you've all heard of it. So say, for example, you want to collect money to help the people that were affected by the explosion in Lebanon, people who lost their houses, people who were injured and do not have the money to go for medical care in hospitals. So you start a website to collect money for these people. Of course, you have to do it legally. So you have to first get approvals from the government of the UAE and do it through an organized charity. But you can do that online. You don't have to go around and see people face to face and collect money from them. So this is what we call donation-based crowdfunding. Other ways of crowdfunding could be by asking people not to invest in your business, but to lend you money, and you will pay them money back. So people can either decide to be partners with you, or what we call shareholders with you in the business, or they can decide to just give you the money, say $1,000, and ask you to pay back that money with a little bit of extra profit from your business later on. One other idea which was used to actually create and launch one of the very first funky watches that were launched some time ago. It was called a reward-based crowdfunding. So basically, people who helped the inventor of this watch to start making the watch have told him, we will pay you some money, but once you start producing the watch and manufacturing it, give us a certain quantity of that watch. This is called reward-based, which means I give you money, but you don't give me cash in return, you don't give me profits in return, you actually give me something from the service or the product that you are going to use the money for. For example, if I am starting this chocolate business and my friend lends me or gives me $1,000. So I tell her, okay, I'm not going to pay you back the $1,000, but what I'm going to do is give you chocolates worth of $1,000 once my shop starts. So maybe in Eid, in birthdays, in any special occasions, you can come and take chocolates from my shop for free, in a way for free, but really it is in return for the $1,000 that she had given me in the past. These are all different ways of what we call now crowdfunding. And crowdfunding is how, as we say, the Statue of Liberty managed to get its stand, which it is standing on these days. These are some examples of websites that offer crowdfunding. We call them crowdfunding platforms. So again, what is crowdfunding used for? Can someone tell me? What do we mean by crowdfunding?
I just want to make sure that money from people for a specific thing.
Exactly, to provide you money to start a project or for a good cause, for a charity cause, etc. Correct? Or to start a business, etc. So these are some of the major, most famous crowdfunding websites or platforms around the world. Kickstarter, for example, is a very famous one. GoFundMe. GoFundMe is mainly used for charity. Eureka is based here in the UAE. They have offices in Dubai, and they are used for investors, young investors like you who want to start businesses, who have smart ideas that they want to start businesses for. There's Indiegogo and there's crowdfunder.com. One other company here in the UAE who also provides crowdfunding service or technology is called Smart Crowd, and it helps people who have little money or small investments to actually invest in properties. So for example, if we are a group of 10 people and we want to come together and invest in an apartment in downtown Dubai next to the Burj Khalifa, because we know that people will pay a lot of money later on to rent apartments in this area. But we don't have, for example, let's say it costs 1 million dirhams. We don't have 1 million dirhams each of us alone. But if we come together, each of us will put 1,000, 10,000, 20,000. If we collect our money together and we give it to Smart Crowd, they can invest for us in many properties in Dubai. So this allows us with small amounts of money to invest in property. This website is called Smart Crowd. Also another idea of crowdfunding, but for property. This is what Crowdfunder looks like, the actual website. So you see they put listings of snapshots of the different projects that they currently have, and you can click on each project and read more about it and then decide if you're interested in investing in it. It also shows you how much money is collected so far for each of the projects that are on their website. And then as investors, we can just go log online and decide to invest in any of these projects or fund any of these projects. One third area, and this is our last topic for today, where financial services are provided using technology, is what we call investment management. In simple terms, investment management is me having money and I don't know how to invest my money. So I go to someone who is professional, who is someone who has studied and who has experience and knowledge in what are the best investments and what are the different investments and what is the best investment for my requirements. And he will take my money and start dividing it and deciding how much money you will invest in the different assets or different investments that are available. So for example, I have 10,000 dirhams in savings. So I go to an investment manager and I say, can you please take these 10,000 dirhams and decide where to put them so that I want to make money in the future to be able to buy a car, for example. When I graduate after 5 or 6 years from university, I want to have my own car. Can you invest these 10,000 dirhams so that at least I will have the down payment for my car in 5 or 6 years? They say, okay, how about I put 2,000 dirhams in stocks of companies? So I purchase stocks of A'mar, Ittisalat, some of the local banks, etc. And maybe I will put 3,000 in government bonds. So bonds which are issued by the government and which pay back some money in the future. and maybe I will put the remaining 5,000 in a savings account in one of the trusted banks in the UAE. And then at the end of every year, you will have maybe 5% income or 5% return, we call it, return on your investment. So 5% on 10,000 is 500 dirhams. So every end of year, you will have 500 dirhams. Of course, maybe 10,000 and 500 is a small amount. So if we put a bigger amount, then you'll have a higher return on investment. So this is what investment managers do. But this is nothing new. This was there many, many years ago, ever since people started thinking about investments and savings. What is new here is that we started using what we call robotics and artificial intelligence to provide investment management services. So guess what? Now, instead, I'll go back to that. Instead of actually going and talking to a person, I will not go and talk to a robot. This is just a caricature. But what they have now is programs online, on the internet, or on applications on your phone, programs where I go online and I start actually talking in a way to the program or to the application, telling it how much money I have, what is my age, what do I need this money for, how much income I need every year, how much profit I need to make on this money, and what is the purpose of my investment, and all the details that I need to give to this advisor, to this investment advisor. And then this computer program or this application will analyze this information that I have provided about myself and tell me what is the best investment for me. So they will tell me if it's best to invest maybe in gold, to buy stocks, to buy bonds, or to just keep my money in cash in the bank. Of course, it is not a real robot. It is really just an application or a program online or on your phone, which is smart enough. And when I say smart, I don't mean smart like human beings, but because we programmed this application, we tell it exactly what it needs to tell you or to tell anyone who wants to invest and who has certain circumstances, based on their circumstances, what investment tools to recommend. So human beings, real investment managers, real professional investment managers, humans, have programmed this tool. So rather than the investment manager sitting there in front of you, he will be away talking, doing some other business, while you are talking to an application or to an online program, which tells you exactly what the real investment manager would have told you. So this is again an innovation using robotics and using artificial intelligence, smart apps, smart applications, smart programs to play the role of a human being, of a real advisor. And this, we call this wealth tech or robo-advisory or wealth tech. Of course, this is just a funny headline I saw in the newspaper the other day saying robotics are going to kill people and they're going to take over the world. Of course, this is science fiction and it's not true, because at the end of the day, humans are the ones who program robotics and who program tools and applications and tell them exactly what to do. Yes, some programs with time start learning on their own, start developing their own ideas and start coming up with new ideas, but it doesn't mean that they will become like the movie Frankenstein, where they will take over and they will kill the inventor. That's never going to happen. This is only science fiction, as we said. One of the technologies that you will see, and I'm sure you are familiar with, is what we call biometrics. Biometrics is basically using our face, our voice, our fingerprints to access our technology, to access our phones, our bank accounts. Maybe if you have a safe in the bank, you know, a safe in the bank where you keep your gold, for example, or your jewelry, you can access it using your own body. We call that biometrics, using your face or voice or fingerprints, etc. Or you're even the print of your iris, the eye. So this is a scene from Mission Impossible where Tom Cruise, a very handsome actor, is using his eye to open a lock or a lock for a door. We use that now for financial services, to access your financial services and financial technology. Okay, moving forward, what is the future? Where is the future? The future is with artificial intelligence, with data, using a lot of data that is available currently to come up with new ideas and insights. We call it big data. Financial services, banks are going to be using data that they have about the people to start coming up with new services and ideas to offer you new innovative services and products. Cloud computing. Cloud computing is another big topic, which is basically, I'm sure you've used it already in your studies recently. Dropbox is using cloud computing, basically storing your information, storing your files, storing your applications on a server which is not on your computer, but in a computer that is with Microsoft company or with IBM, etc. Blockchain, we've all heard about it, and maybe in the future we'll have another separate workshop about blockchain. Blockchain is a very exciting technology which helps make sure that a lot of the transactions that we do are secure. No one can hack them, no one can interfere with them. So if I am sending money to Aisha, for example, or to Noor or anyone, or to my friend or to my family, I make sure that no one can interfere and take that money, that it's going to the right person, and no one can hack it and steal that money. So that's a very, very important feature of blockchain, a groundbreaking technology which is now being used in the financial services and also in many, many other fields, including education and healthcare also. So you can see that there are huge benefits of using FinTech, including saving time, efficiency of services, saving costs, providing services for poor people, people who could not have accessed or who could not have obtained any finance or money before. Now they can use it simply on their mobile phone, because who doesn't have a mobile phone now? Convenience, sitting on your couch at home, and as we said, Live Bank, you can open your account within minutes, if not seconds, sitting on your couch. You don't have to leave your house. And again, of course, offering new products and services that did not exist before. And finally, I would like to conclude with this quote from Bill Gates. I'm sure you know who is Bill Gates, Microsoft. So Bill Gates said, we need banking, we need banking services, we need money, but we don't really need banks anymore. So many other innovations have replaced banks and have made us able to obtain everything that we need in terms of our money and finances and cash and investments without having to need a real bank. We have banking services, but we don't need the bank itself. So thank you very much for your attention and time, and forget the questionnaire now, but I just wanted first to see if any of you have questions, any of you want to clarify any of the points that we have discussed so far.